Welcome to a special Vote 2010 presentation from 5 Eyewitness News and the League of Women Voters. I'm Tom Hauser, and this is a debate in the race for Minnesota Attorney General. It's been a long time since a Republican has been elected Attorney General in the state of Minnesota. Can either of you explain why Democrats have dominated this office for 40 or 50 years?
I think it's a very critical question because we've had a 40-year political machine controlling that office since 1971. As you look across the country, when you see a 40-year machine, you see scandal. You see turmoil. That's what's happening in this office. One half the lawyers in this office, according to CCO, have walked out, many in disgust with what they've seen. 7 of them have filed sworn statements that there's misconduct going on in that office. Over a period of years, the office has intimidated law firms, it has intimidated businesses. I've been told by people all over the state, I'd like to help you, I'd like to donate, but I'm afraid of what the Attorney General would do to me. I've been told by citizens that I have something to report, but I'm afraid to tell you because of what the office of the Attorney General will do to me.
Is there politicization of the office?
Not at all, and I think, Tom, the best way to show that is the awards that we've been winning from the National Consumer Law Center.
Okay, Mr. Barden.
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. She just mentioned that she got this big award from the National Consumer Law. That is a far left-wing organization. It's affiliated with Acorn. And once again, this Attorney General funneled $250,000 taxpayer dollars into the pockets of Acorn before the 2006 election. Acorn then endorsed her and helped her to get elected. This is the kind of scandal and turmoil that we need to stop in Minnesota. It's time to clean out that office.
What role does the state have in overseeing credit card company practices here in Minnesota?
This gets back to the issue we were talking about. One of the most infamous cases in the history of the state of Minnesota is when Minnesota sued Capital One, which is a credit card company. The settlement for that case did not go to the taxpayers as it should have. The current incumbent signed over $250,000 of that settlement into the pockets of Acorn, who then endorsed her and helped her run for office in 2006. One of the department heads characterized that office as having established a culture of dishonesty. 7 lawyers in that office have filed formal affidavits under oath claiming that there's misconduct and even criminal conduct going on in that office.
I asked them to leave. They filed complaints with the legislative auditor who looked at them, dismissed them, and found that there was no basis to investigate.
Mr. Barden, how do you view the current staffing levels in the Attorney General's office?
I think that the current staffing levels are fine. I think that the problem is that, once again, the current Attorney General is only doing part of her job. Sometimes the most important parts of the job do not cost lots of money. So, for example, to defend the citizens of our state against an unconstitutional federal health care law would not cost much money at all, but she's decided not to do that part of her job. Again, to draft and legislate and to work toward a photo ID system to protect the integrity of the election system, very important part of the office of the Attorney General's job, to represent all the people. That would not cost any money. Again, she's decided not to do it. She's only doing part of her job.
Mr. Barden, there have been efforts in recent years by Assistant Attorneys General to unionize the office. Where do you stand on that issue?
I don't think that that needs to happen. I think that they tried to unionize because the office was filled with scandal and turmoil. People were being ordered to put false facts into affidavits, which is a criminal act. And these lawyers have documented all of this. The incumbent said that she was cleared by the auditor. That's absolutely false statement. In his June 3rd, 2008 letter, the legislative auditor documented that there were 7 lawyers in that office have written detailed statements, or they've given statements under oath, that criminal and unethical misconduct is routine in that office, that it's a culture of dishonesty. And the current incumbent has never answered questions about that. She ran from the CCO cameras. She's never gone to the legislature and given testimony under oath to rebut any of that. And given that WCCO TV and others have reported that nearly 1/2 of your own legal staff have left or quit your office, many in disgust, and given that the legislative auditor reported 7 of your own staff lawyers gave sworn statements documenting misconduct, including criminal activity in your office, and given that you personally signed away $250,000 in taxpayer money to Acorn, when will you answer questions under oath about your role in these matters?
Well, Chris, I'm sorry that you keep choosing to engage in these personal attacks and taking out your mud bucket. I think with regard to the settlement, the money given to Acorn is no different than the $38 million given to that group for financial counseling by the George Bush administration, no different than the tens of thousands of dollars given to that organization by the Tim Pawlenty administration.
Well, obviously, she did not answer the question at all. The question was, when will you answer questions under oath about your role in these matters? They've gone under oath. If they lied, they could go to prison. The incumbent Attorney General has refused to answer any questions under oath about the scandals and turmoil that have made her office much less effective than it used to be.
I answered that. There were some changes I made, some lawyers I demoted. They went to the auditor looked at it, he said there was no basis for further investigation.
She hasn't answered my question. I want to know when she's going to answer questions under oath about all of the corruption and the misconduct that her own lawyers, these are her own lawyers, have written about.
The Attorney General does represent the governor, and I've been able to do that with Governor Pawlenty. For example, in the on-allotment case, there was some litigation filed against the governor, and my lawyers represented the governor in court all the way to the Supreme Court.
After our very troubled 2008 Minnesota elections, there are many questions about the role of Acorn in registering 43,000 new voters, of whom may have been felons. You've sued many companies and businesses. Why didn't you sue Acorn? Why didn't you investigate Acorn like so many other states have done to protect the integrity of the election system?
Well, I've received support from Acorn.
The Attorney General is the person most responsible in our state for protecting the voting rights of the public. As you know, by statute, if a county attorney fails to do their job and fails to investigate voter fraud, they can be prosecuted, they can be investigated. My question to you before about Acorn was, why didn't you not investigate them? Because this is an organization that has been called a criminal enterprise by a congressional board that looked at them for several years. And so for you to take $250,000 of taxpayer money and give it to Acorn, which is a very notorious organization, to me shows poor judgment, and it shows why so many lawyers in your office are having so much trouble with what you're doing. A former department head in your own office has been quoted in the press as saying you have created a, quote, culture of dishonesty in the Attorney General's office. Why have so many of your own lawyers accused you of running a corrupt office?
Asking the same question over and over again doesn't transform it into reality, Chris. And
until I get an answer.
Well, Chris, you've been pretty harsh with me here today.
You're trying to do to me exactly what you did to the best lawyers in your office, who exposed the misconduct, and then you tried to smear them. At the most important role of the Attorney General, these are roles that you're not doing. You're not defending the state against an unconstitutional health care law, which is going to place trillions of dollars of new debt upon us. You're not working to put a photo ID system in place which will protect us from having another disastrous election as we had in 2008. These are the two most important components of your job, and you're not doing them. The last poll I saw showed that 80% of people in the United States want a photo identification system. And in Minnesota, it's higher than that for Republicans. Over 70% of Democrats want a photo ID system. We need to get our election under control. It needs to be safe. It needs to make sense. Photo ID is an easy way to do it. Are you going to support a photo ID system in our state or not?
If there could be a widespread problem shown, then I think we can look at changing the law. But without that, I don't believe in just passing more laws for the sake of passing more laws.
Your opponent has brought up a number of things about your own past cases that you've been involved in.
This mischaracterization of my record is the kind of smear tactic that was used against the lawyers who exposed the misconduct in the office.
Vote for Chris Barden.